Welcome to District Talk. I'm your host, Chad McLaughlin, and this week we have Fernanda Sotomayor. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
thanks
so
for
happy to
coming
be
by.
here.
Yeah, and you're with Chalet Settlements.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the owners of Chalet Settlements.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming by today. And today I thought we would kind of dive into, well, a couple things. I want to know a little bit about you and about Chalet. Because you guys have a really cool story as far as like how Chalet came about. So I thought we'd kind of get into that. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about title and title insurance, because I think that's something that a lot of folks just don't know a lot about. And we can talk about why it's important.
Sure. So we can do that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, let's kick it off by just like kind of tell me a little bit about you and like how you got started, because I know you've been around a while.
So I was 5.
Right.
It happened by total coincidence. You know, like I'm a true believer in the universe. And as I tell you my story, I think you'll see how things click.
Okay.
But basically, it was my early 20s.
Okay.
I wasn't even 21 yet, so I was 20.
Wow. Okay.
And there was an opening at a title company. My husband at the time used to work for a credit union.
Okay.
And he was a loan officer at a credit union.
Oh.
So the title company that he was working with, who also happened to be friends with family, they were looking for a post-closing assistant.
Okay.
So I went on to become a post-closing assistant.
Okay.
And from then, I, kept on doing my post-closing thing for a few more years, became a manager in a post-closing department, ran a couple post-closing departments at a couple different title companies. And then the market crashed.
Okay.
And then I came back a year later.
So like 2006 to 8-ish or so?
2008.
Okay. All right.
And I will never forget, because that's the year my baby was born.
Okay.
So
okay.
I was 8 months pregnant, and
wow.
title company just went under.
Yeah.
It was not fun. I mean, now I can see,
sure.
the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was definitely
I think for
tough.
a lot of us, because I was in real estate during that time frame too, and you just don't know what you were walking into every day. Every day was different, and you didn't know if it was your last day, if it was your
yes,
it was
for sure.
Yeah, it was like walking on what's it called?
Like eggshells.
Yeah. It was like walking on eggshells.
It was a little nerve-wracking, but so I went to have my baby.
Okay.
I was out of the business for a year.
Okay.
I did other things, and then I came back.
Yeah.
As a pre-processor.
Okay. So you went from closing to
post-closing to pre-processing.
Okay.
So I started pre-processing, and then at the same time, I went onto a little bit more of the marketing field, trying to bring business into the title company that I was at.
Okay.
And turns out I became really good at it. And while I transitioned from being a pre-processor to an actual full-time processor, it made things easier for me to also get more business. And to start negotiating short sales.
Oh, okay.
So because you had to survive,
frame was
right?
like, that was huge. Short sales were huge.
So we had to work on short sales. That was our surviving years with short sales. So I did that for a few years.
Okay.
And the market transitioned to regular transactions, thank God. I mean, I know the interest rates are crazy now, but people don't understand how much better off we are now than what it was a while ago.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah. I mean, you hear a lot of like housing recession talk and things of that nature, and it's like, well, no, it's not. It's not like what, especially if you went through it back in 2008. this feels nothing like that at all.
Plus, I believe that the lending industry definitely made changes
Oh
to
my gosh,
protect the
yes.
consumer,
Oh yeah.
to make sure that transactions were much better.
Yeah, there are like the no doc, no income, no
Oh,
all that
yeah.
kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, for sure.
anyways, from processing, I went to the last title company before Chalet.
Okay.
I was processing there as well as bringing my own deals.
Okay.
The owner of that company had made a beautiful home with a beautiful team for all of us. It was, I can't tell you how amazing of a team,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all had there. And because of the market, because of, internal issues between different owners in the company, we had to make a choice between my business partners and I. And we decided that we could open Chalet
Yeah.
and we could start our own thing. And
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure we saved as many jobs as possible because the other company was not going to survive.
So the other company was pretty much dissolving. So out of this dissolving company, you and two others, right?
Yeah.
Decided to basically kind of step up and say, well, we have the crew, we have the knowledge,
Yeah.
we have the background, you have the
Exactly.
resources,
Yeah.
and that's amazing.
Yeah. We built a title company in 2 months.
Wow. Yeah.
So we have an amazing team. I have business partners that I admire and I look up to. And it's just home.
Yeah.
Chalet is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So now you guys, and you are about a year into?
Almost. In
Almost?
July.
July.
I want to say we closed our first deal. I can't remember the exact day, but it was sometime in July.
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
very
it's-
cool. Yeah. And now you're talking about even opening up other branches.
We are in Frederick now.
Yeah.
It's almost ready to go.
Yeah.
I think we only need internet, so please.
Yeah.
Can we do
Okay.
that? You know how that is.
Right.
But yeah, no, we're super excited.
Yes.
It's the office is there. We are trying to open, the market and offer something new and fresh. Offer our expertise. Our team has a lot of good things to give. Customer service, caring about each and every single transaction that we close.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just another deal. It's really somebody's home. It's
Right.
somebody's life.
That's one thing that I can say. I had, and you know this because I had a closing with you and a couple actually now. And that was one of the things that stood out was the closing day and how special it was for the buyer, my buyer in particular, who was a first time home buyer.
Right.
He was a first time home buyer, and it was just so
Right.
cool. And
Yeah.
you could just tell like you guys went to the extent that you guys went to make it welcoming and fun, because closing day can be really stressful for a lot of folks.
And we take that for granted
Yeah.
because we see it on a daily basis. So we don't realize, we don't, put ourselves in that buyer's shoes,
Right.
or that seller's shoes. It's their whole life.
Yeah.
Buying a home is sometimes the biggest investment that you can make for yourself and for your family. A lot of people depend on the real estate investment in order to retire.
You're right, and so many of us get our we put these blinders on, and we're just kind of doing the grind, and we're doing it day-to-day business, and we kind of lose sight the fact that for a lot of folks this is
This is their lives. We are holding their lives in our hands, and we need to appreciate that and feel honored with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I love what I do. And I'm sure probably why you love what you do is like you take so much pride in the fact that you're helping somebody get into a home.
Yes.
Like they're, a place that they're going to make memories and just like, and you get to be part of that.
I know.
And I think that is so cool.
I know.
There's just something about it. Whatever, part of real estate that you're in, whether you're the realtor or the, settlement agent or loan officer or the contractor who's helping getting things fixed up in the house, prior to. I mean, there's just so much cool, it's just something that is really cool about, this type of
1,000%,
career. Yeah. So
we're very lucky to be where we are.
We are. Yeah, I agree. Well, let's kind of dive into title, because one of the biggest questions that I get when I meet people and when we're going over a loan estimate is, what's this title insurance?
And do I need to buy it? Why does it say optional?
Right. Exactly. So let's kind of, just for like some basics, like what is title? Why and why is it important?
So title insurance exists because you want to make sure that you have insurance on your investment. So basically, we insure the title of your home we make sure that there's no one else has a claim on your title when you're purchasing a home.
Okay.
We want to make sure that the seller that's selling you the home is actually the seller, that any loans or liens that are against that seller get paid and taken care of at closing. That's why title insurance is there.
Okay.
That if something does happen, if a claim is made, that you're protected.
Okay.
So I always say this to people: think about title insurance as if you were getting life insurance. When you're getting life insurance, they make you go and get a full physical and make sure you're healthy enough to see if you can be insured, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the title of a home. So we in essence get a ratified contract. It comes to us, and then we pull all the records on that property.
Okay.
And then we start communicating with all parties. And then we get information on what needs to be paid at closing, what mortgages are against the property, what liens are against the property, what taxes need to be paid, all that stuff that needs to, happen in order for us to insure the property.
Okay.
So that's in essence the best way to describe it. Now, title insurance, and this is confusing for people, is divided into two sections.
Okay.
One is a lender's title insurance policy, and the other one is an owner's title insurance policy.
Right.
So the owner's policy is the the part that's optional.
Yep.
The lender's title insurance policy is required by your lender.
That's right.
They want to make sure that they're insured, because in the event that you default on your payment, they can proceed with foreclosure, and that they're going to be in first lien position.
Yes.
Basically. So the owner's policy only protects you in case there are any claims. I mean, I could tell you thousands of scary situations, right?
Well, tell us one.
Okay, so this actually happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to need something
And so this one we caught before we went to closing. Actually, I was at the table with the buyer. But listen to this. The seller had signed a couple days ahead. Typically, that's very typical. Like, buyers and sellers now, everybody has their own agenda, their own schedules, children, work, whatever. So they don't necessarily meet at the table. It's very rare to have buyers and sellers at the table at the same time these days.
Okay.
So the seller had already signed, and I was in the middle of closing with the buyer. When the seller signs documents, I specifically have them sign something called an owner's affidavit. And that says, you've given me all the information you need to give me. You don't owe the IRS money. You don't have any potential tax liens coming onto your name. There isn't anything that you haven't told me that is not showing in land records. Because land records is, I mean, as long as we can catch things, as long as they're recorded.
Right.
But we cannot
But
see
they're not
what's not on
recorded,
record yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you lend money to, if your Uncle Bob lends you money and you use your property as collateral, but there was nothing recorded against the house, I'm not going to know that.
Right.
But so this lady said she was fine. Everything was okay. The day of closing, we always run what's called a title update.
Okay.
So we ask to rerun court records to make sure that nothing new has showed up on our title. Well, as we were finishing up with our closing, the attorney comes to find me to tell me that there is a $50,000 tax lien that just got put on record from the IRS against our seller.
My
That
gosh.
automatically attaches to the property.
Wow.
If we would have waited one more day, if they would have waited one more day
Yeah.
to record that IRS tax lien, and we would have gone to closing, dispersed all funds, we wouldn't have seen that
Yeah.
on time for us to do anything about it. And
Oh
there
my
would have been a
gosh.
claim on a policy right there. This is why title insurance is so important. And people don't realize it. And I always tell people this is the one thing that you want to have and never want to have to use.
Yeah, it's like, and it's a lot. I always tell people it's for peace of mind. Like, are you going to use it? Is it going to be necessary? It's very rare, right?
Yeah, it's very rare. There's some features about an owner's policy that a lot of people don't realize, but it protects access to your property.
Mm-hmm.
What if you have to share a driveway with your neighbor? And your neighbor wakes up one morning and says, I don't want you on my driveway. And then you can't access the property anymore. Title insurance will make sure that they defend you.
Yeah, because it goes into neighborly disputes and things of that nature
and
too,
they
right?
will either hire an attorney to fight your neighbor so you can access your property, or they will build you a brand new driveway, because I've heard of stories where title insurance companies have actually built driveways for people.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, I mean,
now, is that something that you have to get involved with? Like, or once you've gotten the insurance policy, then there are people that handle all
so
the...
think about title companies kind of like insurance agents.
Okay.
So we underwrite for certain companies.
Okay.
Not Chalet in particular, we underwrite for two of the major title insurance in the country.
Okay.
So if let's say you don't want to deal with that, but you have a problem in the future and you do need to start a claim on your owner's policy, then you will go directly to that underwriter.
To the end. Okay.
It's kind of like saying, an insurance agent that sells State Farm or Nationwide or Geico or Travelers, it's sort of the same concept.
Okay. All right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's people don't understand.
No. Have you had any other situations that have come up, like where, thankfully, maybe like, let's say you were able to catch something?
Well, I mean, let's talk about this bubble situation, right? With like loans from 2005, 2006, or all these lenders that went out and, and that there's, sometimes there's liens against these properties and these lenders no longer exist. And it's really hard to track down certificate of satisfactions for those liens. So having an owner's policy allows you to still go to closing to convey title. So there's a difference between a marketable title and a clear title.
Okay, yeah. So tell me. Okay.
So the seller is required to sell you a marketable title.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean the title doesn't have any clouds on it. So the other day, for example, I had a transaction where there was a deed of trust from 1991 from a lender that no longer exists. We couldn't find them anywhere. It's a 30-year loan. So it's matured, but it's not expired.
Okay.
So because we had an owner's policy from our seller, and that was a prior owner issue, we were able to go to closing because the underwriters will say we'll still insure the transaction without any exception to the buyer so that they can continue to do whatever they need to do.
Okay.
So that's marketable title.
Okay.
Where you can still negotiate, sell your title.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily free and clear of any clouds, but sometimes it's impossible to.
If it's marketable, I mean, is that something that obviously I would assume you relay that to the buyer, right?
Well, yeah, but that's also in the contract. So if you read, yeah, it's part of the sales contract that they have to give you a marketable title.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, if it's something more than, if it's something major,
right.
The underwriters may require for us to fix it before we go to closing.
Okay.
It's just part of the title work. There's situations like, for example, if the seller owes back taxes, let's say from a prior owner or whatever that, taxes from, let's say Baltimore City decides that taxes from 2005 were never paid.
Okay.
And the seller's like, well, I didn't own the property back in 2005. I just bought it in 2018. Why didn't this come up? Well, could be many reasons why it didn't come up, right? Particularly because maybe it wasn't updated in the lien certificate that Baltimore City issues.
Okay.
But then they're like, well, but we have to pay it. It has to get paid because that's the only way we're going to.
So who pays it then?
So we have to collect it from the seller, and the seller is welcome to file a title claim.
With their insurance?
Yeah, with their title insurance so that they can get.
As long as they had title insurance.
As long as they had title insurance.
Yeah.
If they didn't have title insurance, guess what?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you have title insurance, it sticks with you throughout your ownership?
Yeah. It's a one-time fee.
Okay.
And it's at closing.
Okay.
And it sticks with you until you sell your property.
Okay. So, but what if I refinance the property? So
when you refinance a property, the only thing you have to purchase again is a lender's title insurance.
Okay.
So they have to renew. Your new lender is going to require a new policy.
Okay. All right. But I've already purchased my other policy. I don't have to worry about buying it again.
You don't have to worry about it. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I don't want to get super technical, but if you make changes in your title or your deed, you may need to reconsider title insurance, you know? So in essence, if you get the property from, your parents into your name, their title insurance may not necessarily transfer onto you.
Okay.
So you should always consider going to a title company to do things like that and to make sure that you're still protected with the title insurance.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So part of the process then is for, let's say, our home buyers, they meet with the realtor, then they meet with the loan officer, and then of course the title and settlement agent obviously is that's who they meet in the end, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on between just more than title insurance that you guys are doing, right? Yeah. I mean, between the time you get a contract to the time that they settle.
Yeah. I mean, we have to collect everybody's information. We have to run everybody's name through the court records. We have to make sure that all the fees that need to be paid at closing get paid and to the appropriate people. We make sure that if you're a seller, that your lien holders get paid. We make sure that if you're the seller, we get you money at the table.
Right.
We pay the agents. We pay everybody that's associated with the transaction. We even pay the water bill. So there's a lot that comes with a title company.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how much work it is and how many parts.
Yeah.
We have to deal with.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I didn't. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm in the business.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys are doing that? Oh, you're doing that? Okay, great.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I don't think I was, I'm lucky that I have amazing business partners, and I feel like we all have our strong points in what we do.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot that needs to take place. We have to make sure that, our accounting needs to be perfect. Our escrow accounts need to be, up to date with everything. We get audited by the estate, by the underwriters. We have to, answer to a lot of people.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of work involved. I mean, so you've gotten title insurance set up. You've kind of walked through all the process of what it looks like between the contract to settlement day. What does settlement day look like for a home buyer?
Well,
at Chalet,
for us, it's like, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and it's not unusual to not have docs sometimes until a little bit before closing.
Yeah.
But, sometimes that happens, but typically we would have your loan docs ready. Mm-hmm. We would have given you a call, told you what the amount due at closing is. You would have wired the funds already.
Okay.
We require that funds get wired. That way we reduce the chance of, having checks returned.
Sure.
Maryland is a wet settlement state, so that means that we are required to have money at the table and to disperse funds at the table.
Okay.
So everybody's funds need to be in on time. And I feel like that's one of the number one things that's sometimes can be really stressful for a buyer the day of closing.
Okay.
Is getting those final amounts or that final amount from the lender and from us, because a
lot of it's last minute.
Yeah, and we have to. So getting the final figures done, it's really a combination between the lender and the title company, and us putting our fees together and everything that needs to be collected at the table. So sometimes getting that thing, the day of closing, and it can come very close to the time of closing. So I feel like that could be one of the
stressors.
So if at all possible, if, we can give you an estimated amount prior to closing or a couple days before closing, and then you can get the money to the title company, I feel like that day will be a lot easier. I also recommend, and I know this is not possible for everybody, but take the day off. You're buying a house. You're not buying a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
This is one of the most, major days in your life.
I agree.
You deserve a day off. Yep. You deserve to celebrate. Yep. You deserve to, run over to the house and show your family your new house. So my advice is, money and take your day off. And, I know sometimes the leading up to can be very stressful, but try and just remember the big picture.
It is. It's kind of like a mad rush up until, because you figure, a lot of times we're doing a lot of work in a 2 to 4 week time frame. And, and that leads us right up until the day of settlement, depending upon the situation, depending upon, the house. Because even the house comes, like you said, it can come with the house. We may have the most perfect borrower, that has all the money and the best credit and all that kind of stuff. And then you get to the house and it's like, oh, well, the house has this lien on it. We got all this stuff that we got to take care of prior to,
Exactly.
So you just never know what's going to come up in that 2 to 4 week time frame. So going up until settlement, up until a couple hours even till settlement. Sometimes we're still working on a file and getting it ready. So yeah, I would definitely. I love that recommendation of just taking the day off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just take the day off and enjoy it, as best as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recommend 9 a.m. closings.
No.
But,
when I get them, I'm like,
unless you know that you can get your money the day before and that the title company has docs and that everything's ready to go.
Yeah. I've had people schedule those before too.
I think
a
1 or like a 1 p.m. closing is probably the best time, or a noon closing.
Okay.
But,
yeah, because it gives you time in the morning to get your stuff together.
Yeah.
It gives us some time to get,
and then to do a final walkthrough, to go over, look at your house. You're not rushing.
Yeah.
Even if you have to do a wire that morning, you still have enough time to go do that. So, I don't know, just you're buying a house. It's just a big deal. It's the biggest deal in your life. Like, give yourself a day off.
Yeah. 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 Great advice. Great advice. Great advice. Well, okay, so they get to settlement and they sign a lot of papers. It usually takes
it's going to take as long as you want it to take.
Okay. All right.
I personally, when I'm doing my closings, and I think you've seen that, I go over the main points.
Yeah.
I like to make sure you understand your interest rate, when your payments due, how much it is, what it includes. I think that's super important to make sure that you have a grasp on and understanding on. I also understand that there's so many emotions going through our buyers' heads that whatever I'm saying may just going in one ear, out the other. But that I'm not going away. So I always like to make myself available for everybody. So if you want to sit there and read the entire packet, you're welcome to. I will probably step out and give you a few minutes.
A few hours.
Yes. My typical closing is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's
very reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of folks go in thinking they're going to be there for a couple hours, but then they're shocked.
And then they're shocked. Yes.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, I'm done. That was it. That's all. I got a key."
I know.
So
I'm in debt.
Exactly.
I mean, I find it that, at least in this area, real estate, you can't go wrong.
No. Yeah.
It's a great investment. It's a great, safety net for you and your family. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we talked earlier about the crash, in 2008, and look at how this area, the DMV area, recovered. I mean, we obviously went through, don't get me wrong, we went through our hiccups, but from a pricing standpoint, value standpoint, I mean, we recovered very well.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have near as many issues as some of the other areas of the country did. So yeah, we're very fortunate. Yeah. For sure.
Very lucky to be in this area. I mean, that comes with higher prices and stuff, but at the same time, I always tell people you may not be able to afford the house of your dreams yet, but you need to start somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
You need to start somewhere. And chances are within 2 years, you would have a little bit something more. It's like a stepping stone.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah.
My advice is
my first home was a condo, and to this day I kick myself for selling my condo because I even when I went to sell it, the realtor was like, "You sure you don't want to keep this as an investment property?" I'm like, "No." I was like,
"That's a good realtor."
Like the equity was like I was just infatuated with like all the money that equity that I had made or that I was going to make off of it, and I was like, "No, I want the equity." And he was like, "Okay, because this would be a great investment for you." It was a friend of the family, so like he was a good realtor, but he was also looking out for.
He was definitely looking out for you.
But exactly. But goes back to just, even if it's a condo, even if it's like something small, it's your first home.
Exactly. Even if your commute has to be a little longer at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. And
I
move
know,
a little bit further out,
And I know quality of life, sometimes you'd have to think about that a lot, but owning a home is your safety net,
Yeah.
Even if you're not planning to move in there, maybe if you're planning to buy an investment home because you need to stay in the city and you cannot afford to buy in the city, buy something a little farther out, rent it out,
Own some property. Yeah.
build some equity.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, yeah, that's great advice. I think, I mean, between you're bringing all the advice today, taking time off work on your settlement day, making sure you own a piece of property. So, but no, I really appreciate you coming by today and chatting with us.
I'm so happy for the invitation.
Yeah, and I love the stories. I think what we'll have to do is we'll have you come back and we're going to talk about like nightmare stories with title, just to because I'm sure you have a lot more to talk about.
Oh my God, there's so many stories, so many scary stories. If you've listened to any of this and anything sticks at all, even if you don't want to take the day off, buy title insurance.
Get title insurance.
Don't question it.
Yeah. And I mean, for peace of mind alone, I mean, just so you don't have to worry about, what ifs.
Yeah. It's the biggest investment you will ever make in your life for, most people.
Yeah. And it's a one-time payment.
And it's a one-time payment. Just keep in mind, title companies we don't have, title insurance rates are dictated by the state and by the underwriters. We have no control over it. Okay. We don't make up the rates, the premiums, none of it. That's all by the, and it's calculated according to purchase price and where you live. Yeah. That's all it is.
Okay.
So it's super important.
Yeah.
And I would love to be back and talk about crazy stuff.
I would love to have you back. Stuff. No, seriously, I think that would be a fun, just to chat for about a half an hour about crazy stories that you have come across. Because I mean, you've been doing it now for a while, so I'm sure you have quite a few.
A lot.
Okay.
Just buy title insurance, please.
All right. Well, Fernanda, again, thanks for coming by today and chatting with us. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that.
This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, and to our folks listening to the podcast, again, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and we'll see you in the next episode.